Hello, this is Dr. Circus speaking to you from Brazil. And today is kind of a little bit of a celebration. I'm going to speak about medical marijuana and recreational marijuana. And it's a celebration because today they finished the Portuguese edition of my book. It will be published here in Brazil. It's already been published in New York. And I can't, like politicians, just to admit that I smoked once or twice in a party when I was 20 years old. I have a lot of experience in using marijuana, writing about it, under various conditions and for various reasons. First thing, the real purpose of this video is for people who have not really used it or are thinking about using it to treat disease. My books are about medical marijuana more than they are about recreational marijuana. Marijuana is a drug. There's no getting away from that. It's as good, if not better, than almost all pharmaceutical drugs. And yet, until recently, it's been also classified as an illegal drug, which is kind of a form of terrorism. This war on drugs has been the most ridiculous thing in the history of humankind. It's a drug. It's given to us by God, by nature, and as such, it's better than anything they can develop inside the laboratory, in the pharmaceutical laboratories, which basically they're into poisons. Now, marijuana is especially the modern strains, they're very strong. There's nothing weak about them. But when you compare them to synthetic drugs, far safer. Much, much safer. Medical marijuana has different functions, different ways it works. And one way it works that no other drug works is it helps regulate the nervous system. The cannabinoid receptors in the body, when you use marijuana, it's that kind of hits a self-regulation aspect of physiology, which is interesting. It offers superior pain relief, though it's not a substitute for morphine. If you're in so much pain, you just can't deal with it. But in general, it's a very good pain reliever. There are different ways of taking it. For cancer treatments, there's this oil. It's called Rick Simpson oil. It's very concentrated. You build up to taking a gram a day for 60 days as a natural chemotherapy. If you don't like to get high from it, you can eat it. If you can get raw buds, you can actually eat it. And because it's not cooked or heated, it doesn't get you high, but it has a very good pharmacological effect. You can smoke it. But when you smoke it, you get into this borderline between recreation and medicine. Again, I want to reiterate that you should not be, if you're new to marijuana, you should not be afraid of it. You should be more afraid of aspirin, because aspirin, and different forms of aspirin, kill about 20,000 Americans a year. Tylenol sends more people to the emergency room than anything. Marijuana is classically thought of as incredibly safe, meaning nobody has died from it. All the hype against it, all the fear is starting to melt because probably half the states in the United States are legalizing it. Many for recreational, others for medical purposes. I'm speaking to you right now after 6, 7, 8 months of not smoking. There are downsides to it, and if after long-term use, even though you can get positive effects from it, it's not so easy to quit. I had a difficult time, but I'm now 8 months straight perfectly straight. But through my life, in using it, it worked very well for me. I'm a creative person. I'm a writer. Helps lubricate the brain cells sometimes, especially when you work long hours. Even spiritually, it worked for me. I don't want to get into that kind of detail, but I'm 68 years old. I look good. I look healthy. Marijuana has not brought me down. It's not been some evil weed. I grew up in a household where my parents had a martini every day. And for many years, I joined them. But alcohol is heavier than marijuana. In terms of recreational use, today, we need recreation. People today are totally stressed out. This whole past year over COVID, there's been an incredible amount of emotional and mental abuse. The world is going crazy. And marijuana, as opposed to alcohol, which has a heavier impact on the body, offers a respite. So even for recreational use, for some places, people listening to me, it's totally legal. Other places, politicians are still butting into our lives, telling us what they think we should and should not do. But in terms of medicine, whether you're treating cancer or anything else, marijuana can be a big help and should not be avoided because of assumptions, old fears, governmental edicts. It's a gift from God and should be used that way. Now, of course, not everybody uses it with the right attitude. Some people have a hard time. You know, the old thing from the government, that marijuana leads to heavier drugs. For some people, it does. But would anyway. In terms of legality, I like to think about Portugal, who before anybody else in the world made all their drugs legal. Instead of being crimes, they're health problems that the government and people help deal with. So sure, you can get trapped into being addicted to many drugs, including pharmaceuticals. We know how addictive the opioids were and how many people, not only they killed, but continue to kill. None of these people have any right to tell us anything about marijuana. Because we're talking about nature and we're talking about God-given, and they have no business. So even though it is a drug, sometimes it's best to be drugless, like I am now. I take bicarbonates and magnesium and iodine and selenium, but these can become drugs if you concentrate them high enough. But again, it's nature, it's natural. So if you enjoyed this video, please say or ask any questions in the comments section. I'll take a look and make maybe other videos with the content and the questions. Go to my site, drcircus.com. Sign up for my newsletter. Thank you.